Hey, do you know where I can get some free land? Hey, my name is Blake Anderson with Envision Investor Solutions, and in this video, I'm going to find you 4 ways that you can find free land for your next real estate development project. Yeah, I know this sounds like clickbait, but really there is free land. You start to develop property long enough, you start to have an eye to see where the free land is. And I want to give you some examples that might retrain your thinking when you buy your next piece of property. You see, if you've come out of the fix and flip world and you bought lots of property, then you may have been focused on the wrong part of the deal. I meet people all the time who are telling about the properties they bought, and they're thinking only in terms of the rehab that they can do on the house, not realizing that the real value in the property they're buying may be the land underneath the house and not even the house themselves. But when I buy property, I'm always looking for free land. So much of a real estate development project, the terms, the cost, the numbers, comes down to the acquisition and the cost of the land. The construction tends to be the construction no matter whether I'm building downtown in the metropolitan area or I'm building out in the county. What differs is the cost of the land. Whenever I can get free land, you know I'm trying to utilize it. So here's way number 1 that I find free land. We bought a house a few years back in a suburb of the city that we live around. And this was a fixer-upper project, and we fixed it up, and before we went to sell, we started looking around in the UDO, the Unified Development Ordinances, to see what the minimum lot size was. Because we noticed there seemed to be quite a bit of extra property to the right, and we didn't know if it was enough. Turns out this house was on a lot that was double the minimum size. It had enough of a side yard to subdivide off a completely separate lot. So we finished fixing up the house, and before we sold it, we subdivided it and created a separate lot. So when we bought it as one property, but we're selling it as 2. So the house already sold, and now the side lot is in planning to build another house and sell that separately. The second place that we find free land is in the backyard or large side yards when we're looking to place an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit. An accessory dwelling unit is a second building on the same property as a primary home. So in most municipalities, they're incentivizing density, and they're allowing you to build a second house on the same piece of property, and they call that an accessory dwelling unit. Now, there are regulations and limitations to how big that second dwelling can be. In Durham, North Carolina, where we do a lot of development, that second dwelling can be a max 1,200 square foot heated square footage with 1,000 square foot on the footprint, but that it can be a duplex. I could have 2 one-bedroom units inside of that 1,200 square feet. Now, that accessory dwelling unit is its own house, but it's on the same property as the primary, but that's free land because the appraisal value in the lending normally takes care of the building. So if you've got an extra large backyard that you intend to keep for a while and you want to get some additional income on the property, chances are it will take no more money out of your pocket to build another structure because you already own the land. It's free. And the loan for the construction will normally cover the rest of your costs. When you're thinking about ADUs, accessory dwelling units, you want to consider something else. When you sell a parcel with an ADU on it, you can't sell that ADU separately. It has to be sold with the primary structure, unless you decide to sell all the buildings as condos. When you sell something as a condominium, the buyer is buying the inside of the structure, but they're not buying the land that it sits upon. So you would sell the house separately than the ADU, but you would ultimately have an HOA that owned the land that they sat on, but the unit owners would own the units inside. The HOA would maintain the outside of the buildings, but the unit owners owned their units as condominiums and can sell them at any time. The third way you can find free land is if you're able to build a second unit on top of your current unit. We were exploring this feasibility study with a client recently who had a duplex, 2 units next to each other. But the engineer, when we were meeting and talking about feasibility, said, have you ever considered putting a second story on it? You could actually put 2 more units on top of your house and you turn your duplex into a quadplex. The owner was like, I had never even considered doing that. It seemed like it'd be a lot of expense. But I explained, it's really no different than finding free land. So you found a place to put 2 more units on that same piece of property. So if you have a piece of property that you'd love to turn a single family into a duplex, you may consider cutting the roof off and putting another unit on top. A fourth place I've found free land is in multifamily developments. We have a client right now, we're doing a condo conversion into a multifamily development. So we're taking each individual unit and selling them as condominiums, like I described earlier in this video. But we started looking on the GIS and realized there used to be another building here. What happened to it? Years ago, the North Carolina Department of Transportation bought a piece of the property and demolished a building where they needed a right-of-way for a neighboring road. And so that building no longer existed. But when we looked into the zoning, he actually had enough space to put a whole nother building, and the zoning allowed for 40 more units, many more than he even desired to build. And so as we talked through it, we realized no matter what the costs are to build this building, it's free land. How can you not build it? So maybe you own a multifamily complex that's got extra yards, you've got amenities, and you realize that yard is not income producing. Could I put another building on the property because I've got free land? So I want you to start looking at property differently. I want you to start looking for free land. Most of the city centers were developed in the yards and the parcel sizes are much larger than what the minimum standards are today. If a minimum lot size today is 5,000 square feet, don't be surprised if the homes are sitting on 10,000 square feet lots. Many of them have deep backyards where there's plenty of room for accessory dwelling units. And some of them are single-story homes that would fit another unit right on top. See, when you begin to move out of just seeing a house for the value of that house and you start looking at the land around it, you might find out that you have free land sitting everywhere. We're building an ADU for a client right now who realized I own property all over town with large backyards. I've got free land. So we've got surveys on all the properties and are already planning his next projects because he's got free land. I hope this helps you. We've got our unique deal evaluation checklist that I'd love to get in your hands to help you underwrite and manage your next real estate development project. If you will DM me, comment, or email checklist, I'd love to get that in your hands.